Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another Magic Arena gameplay video. Today we're taking a look at a Bant Defenders deck featuring Arcadis the Strategist alongside High Alert as ways to enable our defenders to get in the red zone. So let's take a look at our entire deck list, starting out with our 1-drops, where we've got the full 4 copies of a Resolute Watchdog, 1 mana for a 1/3 defender that can be sacrificed to give one of our creatures indestructible, so it can protect our Arcadis from damage-based removal spells or from sweeper effects, and also just a cheap defender to get the party started early, so we've got a nice board presence as soon as we play High Alert and Arcadis, so we can start getting in there. And if we do have Arcadis in play, it's just 1 mana for a defender that draws us a card, so that's excellent as well. Then we also have 2 Vines, which we can use to sacrifice defenders to draw cards. If we're missing High Alert or Arcadis, we can start turning our defenders into additional cards to look for High Alert or Arcadis, and also just a cheap defender to help us enable our next card, Surly Caretaker, 1 mana for an 0/3 defender, and we can tap the Caretaker and an untapped creature we control to add 1 mana of any color to our mana pool. Caretaker definitely exceeded my expectations as a mana creature. It's a lot better than it looks in this deck since we have so many cheap creatures, and can lead to some very explosive starts. On turn 1 we can play Caretaker, turn 2 we can play a cheap creature and then use Caretaker and the untapped creature to add 1 mana to maybe play another creature, and we can very quickly get on the board, maybe play turn 3 Arcadis the Strategist and start going off. So a very powerful addition in this deck. Then at 2 mana we've got the spicy addition of Tetsuko Mizawa, 2 mana for a 1/3 legendary creature that says creatures we control with power or toughness 1 or less can be blocked, which is very synergistic in our deck since all our defenders have 1 or 0 power, so they become unblockable with Tetsuko in play, but they still get to deal damage equal to their toughness with High Alert or Arcadis, which means we still get to deal a ton of damage. Then we also have the full 4 copies of Wall of Mist, 2 mana for an 0/5 defender, just a lot of stats to combine with High Alert or Arcadis. And then we've got the full 4 copies of Shimmer of Possibility. Since our deck doesn't really function without a High Alert or Arcadis in play, we need to make sure we can find those cards consistently, and Shimmer of Possibility gives us a nice way to dig for those cards. It's a little bit on the pricey side for a cantrip, but the Caretaker helps there as well. And then we've got 2 copies of Tower Defense, which can also be a nice finisher in our deck, giving all creatures we control +0/+5 and a reach until end of turn. Of course, we're more interested in the +0/+5 part, since that translates into 5 additional damage for each creature we control, since they get to deal damage equal to their toughness, so it can be an unexpected way to end the game, and can definitely lead to some blowouts. Then at 3 mana we've got the full 4 copies of Deputy of Detention as a way to interact with the opponent's permanents. It's not a defender, so it doesn't have great synergy with Arcadis, but it is still a 3 toughness creature that can translate into 3 damage with High Alert in play, so it's still pretty good there, and also has the upside of being protected by our Resolute Watchdog from removal spells, so we can make sure those permanents stay exiled. And then of course we've got the full 4 copies of High Alert, meaning that each creature we control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and creatures we control can attack as though if they didn't have Defender, which is also pretty important. And then on a side note, we can also untap target creature for 4 mana, but that doesn't come up a whole lot. And important to note about High Alert is that even though we might already have an Arcadis in play, it will still improve a lot of our creatures, since it will mean that our Arcadis now deals 5 damage instead of 3, and of course our Deputy and our Tetsuko also deal 3 damage instead of just 1, so High Alert can still improve our board even though we might already have Arcadis in play. And then of course we've got the full 4 copies of Arcadis the Strategist, 4 mana for a 3/5 legendary creature dragon with flying and vigilance that says whenever a creature with Defender enters the battlefield under our control we get to draw a card, so great with all those cheap defenders. And then each creature we control with Defender assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and can attack as though it didn't have Defender, so it doesn't let our Deputy or Tetsuko get in additional damage, but of course enables all our cheap defenders to get in a ton of damage. And then last but not least, 2 copies of Chemist's Insight, 4 mana for an instant to draw 2 cards and also as Jumpstart, so if we do happen to draw multiple copies of High Alert, we can just discard an additional copy to the Jumpstart on Chemist's Insight to dig for additional action. And then looking at our mana base, we've got a Plains, an Island, 2 Forests, some dual lands as well for Glacial Fortress, to Hallowed Fountain, to Sunpetal Grove, for Temple Gardens, 4 breeding pools, and full 4 copies of Hinterland Harbor. So that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. And what about this one? Yeah, I don't have white mana, But between the Shimmer and the Chemisters, we can look at a lot of cards to find both White Mana and High Alert or Arcadis. So I think we can keep it. And if we find another blue or green creature, then the Caretaker can make White Mana as well. Otherwise we're just gonna Shimmer next turn. Steam Vents. Alright, well, got quite a selection here. So obviously we do want Arcadis, although we don't have the White Mana to cast it. I think we still go for it. And then hope to draw White Mana soon. Could have taken another Caretaker, which would have given us the creature needed to make White Mana with the first Caretaker. Alright, that works too. So I guess we'll play the Caretaker, and then we could play the Watchdog as well, so that next turn when we play Arcadis, we can protect it with Watchdog. Or we could wait until after we play Arcadis, so we get to draw a card when we play Arcadis. Or when we play the Watchdog once Arcadis is in play. But of course having the Watchdog in play also means we get to attack with it next turn. So all in all, I guess I like playing Watchdog first, since we also have the Chemisters to draw extra cards anyway. And then play the Stab to say go. And the next turn Arcadis means we get to attack for a bunch. The Caretakers don't get to attack since they'll have to tap to make White Mana, so ideally we would just draw White Source off the top. Second Electromancer not as impactful as the first one. So opponent just setting up. Deputy? Well, Deputy taking 2 Electromancers is kind of tempting. Could save it to maybe get rid of an Arclight Phoenix that our opponent gets back from the graveyard at some point. We can protect the Deputy with the Watchdog. The problem with playing Arcadis now is that we don't necessarily have any great attacks. So we either play Arcadis now, don't attack, or we play Deputy and then next turn play Arcadis and we get a pretty big attack in. I guess I can get behind that while we also slow down our opponent by playing the Deputy here. So let's make White Mana. And say go. And then next turn it's Arcadis time. We can tap the Deputy with the Caretaker, attack for 6. Depending on the situation. Do we sack the Watchdog if they try and kill the Deputy? Unclear. Opponent's gonna hardcast Arclight Phoenix, that's fine. And the attack, alright. Another Deputy, don't think we need to play that one now. So we'll make White Mana. And attack for 6. So we've got Watchdog protection for both Arcadis and Deputy, another Deputy coming down, so if they play another Phoenix, that's going to be pretty great for us. And if the board ever gets to a stall, we can just draw some more cards with Chemisters. Lightning Strike the Watchdog. So might as well sacrifice it, protecting... Given that we have another Deputy, I guess we protect Arcadis. That way we get a safe block on the Phoenix were that to attack. Alright, opponent does nothing. If we exile Phoenix, then we can still hit them for 6, put them to 8. Or we could just attack with Arcadis and then Chemisters or Chemisters main phase, see if we can hit some more 1-drop Defenders to draw cards with. I guess we'll start there. Alright, more walls, that's good. So let's start by attacking. And then play a wall. Draw a card. Tetsuko is gonna be lethal next turn if Arcada survives. Opponent only on single red, so they'll need another red source before they can threaten to kill Arcadas with like a lava coil. Lightning Strike unlocks the Electromancers, that's fine. Maybe they have an entrancing melody. Nope. Alright, so if we just play Tetsuko, then that should be game. So I guess we'll go for it. This seems good to me. Yeah, managed to get there without ever drawing white mana. GG's. This hand seems quite good. Always want to make sure we have Arcadus or High Alert, or at least a way to draw extra cards. Opponent with a Rustwing Falcon, so probably a White Weenie type deck. Let's see, don't want to take too much damage from our mana base, but we do want to get a board presence going. I think for now I'll just play Tap Temple Garden, and then next turn we can go Watchdog plus Vine. We can wait on Tetsuko kind of as a finisher to surprise our opponent with. Vanguard, alright. Can maybe get rid of the Vanguard with Deputy. Yeah, this seems okay. Aspirants. So no Benalish Marshals, but they do have a Venerated Loxodon. I think we're still gonna get rid of the Vanguard here. The Loxodon we can eventually block with Arcadas. Vanguard can kind of keep attacking into our stuff. Although we are gonna take a pretty big hit next turn, regardless of what we do. I guess we could also play a wall now that we drew that, since it blocks a Loxodon. But then we're still taking, let's see, 4, 7, 8, 9, down to 10. Next turn play Arcadus, maybe taking 2 from Breeding Pool. It's getting pretty sketchy. If we Deputy the Vanguard, we're taking 7, 8, 9 as well. So I guess we would rather play the wall first, since maybe there's a better target for Deputy. If they play another creature that's already in play, we get some value. We might need to save the Deputy to get rid of a Conclave Tribunal that exiles Arcadus, but by that point we're probably dead. So we'll see. Sentry. And another Loxodon. Alright. So now we could Deputy both Loxodons, and that saves us quite a bit of damage. Seems necessary here, and then once we're stable we can try and take over with Arcadus and Tetsuko. And the Aspirant doesn't gain flying yet, so we can still block it with the Wall of Mist, which is pretty critical. So right now we're taking 3 from the Flyer and then 5 from the Vanguard. So that's still a lot of damage, but could be worse. Don't think we chum block quite yet. Let's untap. Alright, I think it's Arcadus time. So Arcadis into Caretaker, draw card, take it from there. Alright, there's a High Alert, which is still relevant even though we already have Arcadis, since it still makes Arcadis deal more damage and Deputy. So let's see, do we have any attacks? Still got to be a little bit careful of our life total. How much damage can we deal with Tetsuko next turn? If we also play High Alert, we might just be able to kill them in one big attack. 10, 16, yeah, that's more than lethal, and everything would be unblockable. For the most part, I guess they could block Arcadis. They can still block Arcadis with the Rustwing Falcon. Can we afford to attack with 2 of these? I think we chill. So Vanguard gets in. I think we just take it. And then hope they don't have a Conclave Tribunal. Alright, this is happening. High Alert into Tetsuko. Attack with everyone, and our opponent's going to be forced to chump block Arcadis. And we should be able to survive the attack back with our 2 blockers. Alright, opponent chumps, goes to 3. And now we gotta hope we don't die on the crackback. Still no City's Blessing. Opponent gets in there, so let's make some conservative blocks. Don't want to die to a Pride of Conquerors, and there we go. And now High Alert should be enough to let us attack on the way back. Sweet. Well, that was a tense game. Could have still cast Shimmer to maybe look for something, but wasn't really necessary. We definitely got lucky that our opponent never hit the City's Blessing that game, otherwise we could have been in trouble. Sweet. Alright, what about this opening hand? Looks decent. We've got a Caretaker into a Wall of Mist into High Alert. Up against Overgrown Tomb, so maybe a mid-rangey deck. Oh, Tower Defense could be a nice finisher. So what are we afraid of from the opponents? Vivian destroying our High Alert could be annoying. If they have Assassin's Trophy, that could be annoying too. And there's a Vivian, so can expect that to come down in a couple turns. For now, I think we're happy to play the High Alert, and the question is, do we only attack with a Wall of Mist, or do we also send the Caretaker? Caretaker we just trade for a Branchwalker. Since we have the Tower Defense, I'm leaning towards not trading. Could also cast a Chemisters instead, but I think getting the High Alert down seems good. And then attack for 5. And if they want to double block, that's fine by me. And then we gotta use the Chemisters to find Arcadis or another High Alerts once Vivian destroys the one in play. Can try and make a big attack next turn with the Tower Defense. Hopefully no Chupacabras here. Alright, they're playing blue, so Hostage Taker could be a thing, which we are gonna struggle against. Alright, it's just the main phase for Vraska's Contempt. Fair enough. So now the Tower Defense plan is looking worse. We can still play the Watchdog and then play the Chemisters, because we can tap the Watchdog right away with the Caretaker to add 1 mana, so I think that's our plan here. And then Vivian's probably gonna come down destroying High Alert, and hopefully the Chemisters draws us into Arcadis or another High Alert. Could of course attack and then use a tower defense, but I don't think that's a great use of our resources here. So we'll pass a turn. Alright, looks like they don't have a 5th land, so just a Wildgrowth Walker. Maybe they played around a counterspell here, who knows. They do get to explore, so our opponent's got the ground nice and stabilized. So we'll probably need some flyers or Tetsuko to break this board stall. Branchwalker gets in there. Don't think we want to trade quite yet. And then we'll Chemisters end of turn. Just some lands and a Watchdog. Alright, so we could main phase Jumpstart the Chemisters. Although, might as well do it end of turn, I guess. Reason to maybe main phase it is, let's say we find an Arcadis, then you could make the argument that we don't want to play the Watchdog before we play Arcadis, and then we get to draw a card afterwards. Don't think that's too relevant here. So we'll play Watchdog. And do we want to make any attacks with this tower defense at the ready? Don't think we do. Opponent's got some good blocks. I mean, I guess it's somewhat reasonable to go for it. How is their opponent blocking if we attack here? They probably put Branchwalker and Wildgrowth Walker in front, and then we get to kill a Wildgrowth Walker and kill a Branchwalker. It's not that bad. But then we're unable to cast the Chemisters inside. I guess we'll get in there. Alright, so our opponent blocks like we kind of suspected. And we make use of our tower defense while the High Alert is still in play. Could have also decided to sack Watchdog to just trade for their Branchwalkers that way, but eh. Another Branchwalker, so still no Vivian. But they do find a land, so next turn Vivian is coming down. And we don't have a great plan for when that happens. More lands. Alright, let's main phase this now. Wall of Mist. So I guess we want to make some trades while we can, since the High Alert's not long for this world. And then we get to add a Wall of Mist to the board. And then hopefully we can top deck Arcadis or another High Alert. This seems fine. Went almost through a third of our deck and only found one of the 8 key cards here, so we're somewhat likely to find another one soon. We've got a Shimmer of Possibilities as well to help us dig. Just a land for now. So Vine can also help us draw cards if we're desperate here. So we were lucky to dodge Vivian for as long as we did, but now that she came down, we're in a bit of trouble. Opponent might be holding a bunch of Hydroid Graces in hand that they were unwilling to cast so far, and that's going to provide them a lot of cards as well. Hostage Takers are going to be pretty problematic as well. So we're definitely behind at this point, but not out of the game quite yet. Chupacabra. Probably sacking the Watchdog here. I guess it works too. Some dog-on-dog brutality. Well, we definitely drew a fair share of lands. So we could sack the Vine, or we could sack the Wall of Mist to draw a card. If we sack the Vine, then we're out of card draw. If we sack the Wall, then we lose a potentially 5-powered creature. So I think we sack the Vine itself. Tower defense, not quite what we needed here. Alright, well, let's pass a turn. Still want to keep one land in hand for jumpstart in case we draw the second Chemister's Insight. But for now, I think we can stay put.
No one knows the wilds like I do.
Vivian reveals Memorial. Can get back a Jade Light Ranger. Lanarals. Well, if their last card is nothing too scary, then we might still have a shot here. What's it gonna be? Looks like a Find Finality, perhaps. Yep. Alright. Watchdog, not what we wanted. So, our draws didn't really cooperate too much this game. We had a small window where we could take advantage of our opponent not being able to play Vivian, but took us a little bit too long. And now our opponent's firmly ahead. Jade Lights, so the Wild Growths are gonna go insane. Krasis revealed. And we're down to 12 lives, so it's not going to take much for the opponent to kill us here.
Come to me.
Vivian finds Krasis. And there's also Staker. Sack it. The good dog, always on our side. It's not gonna betray us. Alright, so we're down to 4. Don't think we have any top decks that save us. Another Watchdog. As much as I like Watchdogs, I would have preferred something else here. Alright. Vivian pluses. Hey, thanks for the Twitch Prime sub there, Jules. Welcome to the ranks of the Loyal Legion. Another Jade Light. Well, our opponent may win this game. But we're still the ones with the Watchdog in our deck. So who's the real winner here? Yeah, I guess our opponent's still the winner, technically speaking. Alright, take that. Opponent playing around Settle the Wreckage like it's 2018. Alright, what about this one? Seems good. We've got our Arcadis, multiple defenders, and Caretaker is a nice mana creature. So we get to go Wall of Mist into Watchdog next turn, and then hopefully we get to play Arcadis on 3 for that very explosive start. Hey, thanks for the 3 months there, Lily. Welcome back. Thank you so much for the continued support. Opponent on maybe a Temur Reclamation deck. Land is great, so now we get to jam Arcadis before any counterspells happen. Smack them for 5. And Wolf Mist is gonna draw us another card next turn. And they're just dead. I guess they're not quite dead, they're taking 11 plus 3 is 14, so 1 damage short of lethal next turn. Since Arcadis doesn't deal 5, just deals 3, it's only with a high alert that he deals 5. I think our opponent's on the Temur Reclamation deck, which usually plays Syncopate and Sinister Sabotage. Alright, opponent's got some white mana in there. Wilderness Reclamation. Let's play Wolf Mists. Want to make sure to keep up the Watchdog's ability to protect Arcadis. Alright. Let's attack. No double white, so don't need to play around Settle. Opponent's down to 1. Well, let's see if they can do some damage here. Nothing end of turn, so their hand's probably mostly counter spells, or who knows, maybe expansion explosions. More reclamations. Gift of Paradise to gain a bit of life. We might respect Settle, since now they have access to double whites. Takes 2 from Hallowed Fountain. Alright, never mind, they're gonna do some floaty shenanigans. If they try and kill Arcadis, we can just sack the Watchdog, or we can let it resolve and then play another one. Doesn't really matter here. I guess the dog lovers out there would prefer not to see the Watchdog sacrificed. Alright, sweet. That was a pretty swift victory. Alright, I think that'll do it for the Defender deck for today. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching, hope you enjoyed. And as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for being part of the channel, and you can become a patron yourself today and decide the topic of future videos over at patreon.com/LegenVD.